All right, so we're working on personal, reflexive, and intensive pronouns. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go here, and it's going to be draw or type two things you already know about today's topic. So this is a review. This is going back to pronouns as we did last week. So any two things you can remember about last week's lessons is just a way of getting us to understand that last week's lesson is linked to this week's lesson. So what is a pronoun? What is an antecedent? What does a pronoun do? Any of those things, show me you remember it so we can build off it from last week. Okay, folks, we don't have a ton of time, so I need you not taking your time on this.
It's a pronoun.
Okay, so what's one thing? How would we define a pronoun? Just real simple, simplest terms. That's examples. How do we define it?
Noun that can relate.
Relate's a cool word. Can we try another one? Starts with an R as well. So why do I use he instead of Mr. Mitz? What am I doing with the word Mr. Mitz?
Generalizing? Or no, you're. Is that what we're talking about?
R-E-P-L-A. Replacing. That's it. You're replacing. Okay. Now remember what an antecedent is. Remember, ante means before. So in the two sentences, Mr. Mitz goes to the store, period, he buys milk. Which one of those two terms, Mr. Mitz or he, is the antecedent? Mr. Mitz. Because it's the word being replaced. So a pronoun, and so we're going to go over this real quick. So I'm going to move forward. Okay, here's our refresher. A pronoun is a word that replaces a noun. A noun is a person, place, thing, or idea, and an antecedent is the noun that the pronoun is replacing. Okay, so this is all the stuff we already know. So these are the very general rules. And pronoun, in this instance, we're going to now talk about as a flavor, or sorry, as a category, like ice cream, it's not a flavor. And we're going to start talking about the flavors or types of pronouns, only because they don't all always look the same, and so sometimes if we might misidentify them. So the whole idea of here is just to be able to identify them so that we know that this word that doesn't look like he is actually still a pronoun. You with me so far? So let's not overcomplicate. We're just making sure we can identify today. Okay, so based on what we know, antecedent, noun, and pronoun, I am either good, let's keep going, I'm a little confused, stop, I need help, I am lost. Now, so if I said, could you identify a pronoun and its antecedent? Like we did last week. Can you do that?
Oh, I put it in the middle.
Okay, so if you are still a little confused, I think we can probably move forward and clear it up a little bit as we go. But it looks like no one is completely stuck. So let's try moving forward and seeing if we can fill in the blanks as we go. Okay?
Wait, what's an easy thing? Oh, wait.
No, go ahead. Ask a question. I'll cut you out. So have you ever played cards?
Yes.
Okay, so when you bet in cards, typically poker, you put in an ante, A-N-T-E, and that is the bet before you start playing. Ante means before. So if you remember that it's the bet before, it has to be the word before the pronoun is replacing. Does that make sense?
Oh, like a buy-in?
Like a buy-in, or you ante up. Okay, so the first type is a personal pronoun. This is what we're most used to. There's three types of personal pronouns. I don't really need you to remember this, but I'm just going to tell you so you know. There's first, second, and third. Okay? First person pronoun, I, me, we, us. Second type, who I'm talking to, you. Which is why, for example, you see very little books written in second person. Sometimes you can write in second person in a book like a self-help book. You know, you need to go do this. But often I'm not talking to the reader, I'm talking to the reader about a character, which is our last one, third person, when I'm talking to somebody else. So always think of it pretty easily. First person, I'm talking. Second person, I'm talking to you. Third person is the person I'm talking to you about. That's it. I'm talking to you. You are the second person in the conversation. The third person in the conversation is the person we're talking about. Okay, so I will give you the notes, but not him. There are 3 personal pronouns in that sentence. Can you please write them down for me? I don't care if you label them, just write them down. Well, we know the label, they're personal. Yeah, so the orange sentence is, so the bolded sentence here. I will give you the notes, but not him. Which of the words in the previous sentence are personal pronouns?
Oh yeah, China already found a treatment for the coronavirus.
Good.
There's 3?
Yeah, it was made it's out for like 5 weeks.
First one. Is the underlined word in the sentence personal, reflexive, or intensive? All the questions are going to be set up the same. The sentences will change. She did not teach her dog to open doors. Pick your answer. Okay, and the majority of you answered personal, and the answer is personal. Okay, the dogs learn to do this all by themselves. Okay, we have most of you answering. Okay, so we have a little bit of a question here. Most of you answered reflexive. We got a couple intense, a couple personal. Reflexive. Why is it reflexive? Because
It's at the end.
it's at the end. It's after the verb. She makes sure they learn to retrieve objects. These are both the same. So they're the same category. Personal, reflexive, or intensive.
Okay.
Okay, now some of you have answered reflective or intensive, and I'm going to guess that some of you answered that because that was the only one I haven't done yet. The answer is personal. Why? What is missing from them that would make them either reflexive or intensive? The word self.
Oh.
So it always has to have self.
It always has to have self. That's what makes it reflexive. Personal. Okay, last one. The training itself is expensive. Remember, think about verb placement. Okay, so we have a little bit of a split here. The answer is intensive, because where's my verb? Is, right. It's right next to the training, which is what it's reflecting. Okay. Last 2 things, and we can move on.
Is a verb.
Is what's called a linking verb. So verbs don't always have to be actions. Okay, it's actually good for everybody to hit here. Yo. So verbs do not have to be actions. There's another type called linking, and what it does is, so it changes things a little bit. When we get a little more in depth, this is not actually an object. This is what's called a, I lost the word, complement. So when you write a sentence like, if I say, he is tall. He is tall. That's a full sentence, but there is no action in it. Is acting like an equal sign. So there's the complement is just an adjective that goes after the verb. Does that make sense? So like here, the training is expensive. Well, what's the training? Is this a object or describing training? Right. We try and avoid these sentences because they're very simplistic. We want to do a little more action-oriented thing that's better sentence writing. Like you could say, the expensive training did something. Because if it doesn't do something, why are you telling me? I don't care.
Right.
Here, I'm just showing that this is actually intensifying the word training. Like I want you to really focus. And that's it. Okay, last two things for today. So, number one, one of the things that sometimes helps is putting things in your own words to make sure you understand it. So all I want you to do is very quickly try and explain, in short as you can. I'm going to do, what you should be seeing is a thumbs up and a thumbs down. How well did you like this lesson? If you are, yeah, this worked, let's keep doing it this way, put on the green. If you're like, this was awful, never do this again, put it on the red. If you're kind of indifferent, put it in the middle. If you're like, this works as well as anything else, put it in the middle.